That's the good news. The bad news is there are over 153 million orphans in the world today. 153 million. Their needs are basic: food to eat, fresh water to drink, clothing, education, basic medical needs, protection from predators, and someone to let them know they are loved. These are basic human rights that all children deserve. I'm Terry Mewson, and since 2006, Orphan's Promise has been providing these needs and more for tens of thousands of children in over 50 countries. Countries like the Congo, which suffers from so much deprivation. There are places in Africa where it's dangerous to be a child. Wars, HIV/AIDS, lack of basic medical needs, and the list goes on. Let me tell you about some little girls who have suffered the unimaginable. Things that should never happen to anyone, let alone children.
What happened to you?
Nini alikufikiaka? I have been raped. I have been going to look for vegetables in the field, and I met some men, and they raped me. Many soldiers met us in the house, and they raped my sister and I. I am still feeling very bad.
I can see your eyes is very sad.
Yeah.
Sarah, how old are you?
Sarah, uko na miaka ngapi? I am 6 years old.
So many men raped you?
Balikuwa ba mingi njo balikuviolaka uge?
Walikuwa wasita.
They were 6.
Wow, it's just unimaginable that this is happening to children today. I'm told the sexual violence here in the Congo is considered the worst in the world. Many of the rapists are soldiers, and gang rape is very common. Most of these children have lost one or both parents in the ongoing civil war. Now they've lost their innocence as well.
When I look at you, both of you, I feel like I want to cry because this should not happen to children.
There are times when you hear something so compelling you just have to take action. 4 years ago, Orphan's Promise built a dormitory for girls like these. How meaningful to be able to offer them a safe home with many opportunities.
I think you will like it down in Goma in Dina Center. We have a lot of girls who has been through the same as you, and there we can help you, give you school and food. And most of all, we hope you will be okay so you can forget all the bad things that happen. A girl who comes to Dina Center, first we have to treat her like in her body is usually maybe ripped up. There is a lot of traumas, there's a lot of things, but we need to educate them. And the thing is here in Congo, there's so many uneducated people. And uneducated people, you can keep them poor and you can rule them in a bad way. But we think that education is one of the biggest musts that we have to do for these children. We have our school building coming up over here now with 4 classes. That will be a teaching of the normal school things, but also we will make these girls trained in kitchen work and also like sewing, designing clothes. And we also have a production of soap because these kids cannot stay here forever. They need to have be integrated again in the normal life. And the girls who has already left us, most of them have got jobs and have a new situation, and things are going very well for them.
I'm excited about the future for these girls as they grow and learn and begin to heal from their past. There are many immediate needs at this growing facility, such as providing food, clothing, and medical care for 150 girls. And each girl should be receiving appropriate counseling. Most came to Dina Center with severe emotional and physical problems. Orphan's Promise is committed to helping these girls overcome their past because their future is yet to be written. These precious little girls are going to have the chance to rebuild their lives because of the Dina Center and people like you who care. In fact, we just rescued 33 more girls. So far, 450 girls have benefited from this program. Their lives and their bodies are being restored with medical care and counseling. Dina Center is surrounded by high walls and gates. That's because the most important thing for these girls is to make them feel safe. So finally, the fears that have plagued them can be put to rest. They'll have the opportunity to learn a skill that will support them when they return home to their families. In today's world, no place is too far away. So how about taking a trip with me to Mongolia? You can't get much further away than that. One of the organizations we partner with is helping to meet the needs of children in this faraway place where they have little hope of getting the help that they need. In our world, if children are born with physical problems, there are different programs in place to help them. This simply isn't true in places like Mongolia. I'd like you to meet a darling little girl named Ayushima and see what happens when people like you and me join hands to make a difference. 7-year-old Ayushima is smart, happy, the pride of her mother and father. But this little girl was born with cerebral palsy. Her muscles didn't develop like normal children's, and at 2.5 years old, she had the physical abilities of a 4-month-old, barely able to roll over.
When Ayushima was just a baby, I took her everywhere to try to get help, to Buddhist monks and hospitals. She was diagnosed incorrectly, and life seemed so hopeless when I thought of her future.
About that time, a team of doctors traveled 12 hours by train to their remote town in the Gobi Desert. The doctors were performing developmental screenings. Ayushima was given an invitation to receive free therapy at their developmental center in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. The center is called Reaching the Light. Orphan's Promise supports this work. Therapists here are helping children and parents reach goals they never dreamed possible. In fact, the center is quickly becoming known as the place where they make children walk. This work was started 6 years ago by American pediatrician Margie Stone, who was training therapists at a Mongolian hospital.
I would see the parents scoop their child up in their arms, and they were headed back to the countryside, and they had this empty look on their faces like, well, what do I do now? You know, my child is really no better. And I would think to myself, they really have no idea how to care for their child at home now.
When Margie started this development center, she decided the treatment would focus on the child and the parent.
The parent is the best therapist. They're with them every day. They know them very well. And they also are tremendously invested in them getting better.
The families come initially for 2 weeks of diagnosis and treatment. They leave with an individualized program to continue at home. About every 3 months, they return for new instructions. This is the program that Ayushima started at 2.5. Therapy and instruction at the center, followed by regular therapy at home with her mother, Shurne. Back and forth between home and the center, each time progressing to new stages. And then did you begin to see Ayushima improve?
Oh yes, it was really amazing.
When she started 4 years ago, Ayushima couldn't crawl or sit up. But look at her today. This really is the center where they make children walk. Because a team of doctors properly diagnosed her condition and provided therapy, Ayushima has the promise of a great future. And knowing this bright and persistent little girl, nothing will stand in her way. Now, who could resist that smile? Helping this little girl and others like her has created a strong, positive influence in their little village as well as their neighboring villages. And to see the progress of Ayushima in her ability to walk unaided, well, this is why we do what we do. This is the only pediatric center that sends doctors out to the far reaches of Mongolia to find children who have the capability to walk if they could only receive the correct medical care. The work that goes on in this center is forever changing the lives of the children in this faraway place. At Orphan's Promise, we come alongside those who are working sacrificially in the field to make a difference in the lives of orphaned and vulnerable children. But we need you too. Here's how you can help make dreams like this come true. It's hard to imagine that there are places in the world where conditions are so brutal, so lacking any kind of comfort, that entire families are exposed to the elements, living in houses made of pieces of plastic, bits of scavenged wood, or whatever can be found. Many people live like this in warm countries like Haiti. But there's another place on the other side of the world, at the base of the Carpathian Mountains in Ukraine, where people live in shelters like this. But the difference is, in Ukraine, the temperatures drop to 20 degrees below zero during the winter. Orphan's Promise is making a long-term investment to help 5 different Roma gypsy camps in this area, teaching them to grow and store their own food, educating their children, and helping them to improve their living conditions. Some families are more desperate than others. During a recent trip, we found a family that we simply couldn't walk away from. I'm here in Porshkovo, Ukraine, in a gypsy camp. There's already a chill in the air and winter is just around the corner. If you saw this tent standing here, you'd think it was a leftover play camp from children in the summertime, but the truth of the matter is there are 13 people living inside this tent. This is Ruslan, he's one of them, he's 7 years old. There's a 2-month-old baby in here. Ruslan is wet to the core because it's a cold, rainy day here. And this little family is doing their best to make a living. You can see the dad is making baskets out of pieces of twig that he's gathered from the woods. The mom right now is out gathering mushrooms so that she can bring some food home for her children. What happens in the middle of winter when it's 20 degrees below zero? How do these children and their parents survive? We just couldn't look away. Our goal is to build a home for them that will take them out of the cold, out of the rain, and allow them to make it through the winter and maybe even have a good life here in Porshkovo. It's amazing the change a few short weeks can bring. Working with our CBN staff in Ukraine, Orphan's Promise was quickly able to put together a plan to build a shelter for this family. The most efficient and timely solution was a house made of metal with a strong wood floor and a thick layer of insulation. An airtight window and door, along with a new wood-burning stove, makes this one of the best homes in this gypsy community. And some basic furnishings and warm blankets will keep this family comfortable all winter. I have more good news to report. During my visit, we were alarmed at the condition of the 2-month-old baby boy who had a terrible cough and fever. His mother was so malnourished that her nursing efforts were just not enough. That day, we gave her formula and medicine for little Petro. Now he's no longer sick, has put on weight, and looks much healthier. In fact, everyone looks healthier and happier. In addition to the father's basket making, we have plans to help them with a garden or other livelihood that will bring in enough money to sustain this family.
I thank God for the help you have given us. I couldn't even dream that someone would give us such a house. Thank you.
The children are the real winners in efforts like these. I can't imagine the baby in this story would have survived the winter. Now these children are given a chance to grow up. They'll get an education, have a future. When you join the Orphan's Promise family, you become a part of making changes in the lives of families like these. But now I'd like to take you to another part of the world. There's a wonderful boarding school in a remote village in Zambia, which we built and continue to support. It's run by a dedicated American couple who have literally invested their lives into these children. They're like a mom and dad for these kids, and it shows in their progress. One boy in particular will capture your heart like he did mine. His name is Christopher. His story is about overcoming the most incredible obstacles to become a superstar. You know, all children are special, but I think you'll agree his story is unique. You change a nation by reaching the young people, to educate them and know that they could become the leaders of their country. I mean, this is how you change a nation.
I want you to be a great student, and you're going to be a wonderful leader for your people.
Some of these kids, and Christopher is right at the top of the list, have had things done to them that the average person would be bitter, angry, frustrated, maybe even violent because of the way they've been treated by other people. But what I saw in Christopher that so drew me to him was this sweet spirit. Yeah, he's just a jewel. I mean, 14 now, and mother abandoned him at birth. So right there, most kids would have deep rejection issues. A father who gets ill and dies. So now he's abandoned again. And then he's sent to live with someone who he calls uncle, but I don't even really think this man is related to him. So really what Christopher has done is he's gone into this home as their chore boy and their donkey herder. He doesn't have a hope here. They took him to the government school, and the government school said he can't come here, he doesn't read, he doesn't write, he's 12 years old, we can't take him. They must have heard about the school that we support, the mixed school, and brought him there. Even they didn't know what to do with him because he was so old. They said he'd have to start with the kindergartners, assuming that he wouldn't want to do that he would be too proud to do that. And the next morning, after they'd said they couldn't take him, they opened the door and there's Christopher. To just say, I will not be refused a future. I mean, that's, as a mom, you know, I look at that kid and I think, he's never really had love. He's never really had anybody who's told him what a great kid he is. And he's got so much potential. In 3 years, he's moved from kindergarten up to the 4th grade. He knows he's behind, but he knows he can do it. I think that's an amazing thing. Who gives that to a child normally? Their parents. You know, he's not had that from anyone. And so to be able to say to him, you know, Orphan's Promise is going to sponsor you.
What did you tell me yesterday was the thing you wanted more than anything?
To be in boarding.
To be in boarding. Well, you know what? Orphan's Promise is going to sponsor you. So as of today, this is your new home.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. You know, I want you to know that God heard your prayer. And last night I woke up and I was thinking about you.
I asked him, what's the
What's the difference between the house with your uncle where you live and coming to school here? And he really got tears in his eyes, and he said, well, at my uncle's house, the children say to me, this is not your home, you don't really belong here. But at this school, I feel like it's my family, and I have a mom and a dad. To be able to tell him that he has a hope in the future, that his dreams are not just dreams, that they can be reality, and that we all see that in him. You know, we get to be the parents he never had and come alongside of him and say, keep going, you're doing a great job. I fully believe that one day Christopher may be the president of Zambia. And it would be God's gift to Zambia should he rise to that height.
I sometimes say that Christopher is the Orphan's Promise poster boy. He not only graduated from the school where we were boarding him, he also caught the attention of an American family who agreed to sponsor him to finish high school in the United States. He's now living in New York and is doing really well. In fact, he just won Student of the Month at his school. He's hoping for a college scholarship. His goal? To return to Zambia to help his people. I have no doubt that if he continues on this path, he will be one of the leaders of his country in the future. Orphan's Promise has helped many children like Christopher, but so many more are waiting. Won't you be the one to say, yes, I want to help make a difference in the lives of children like these? Orphan's Promise has been taking more proactive steps to help keep vulnerable children in homes with their relatives. It's a program called Keeping Families Together, or KFT. In many of the countries we serve, if a child loses a parent or if a parent can't provide for them, they're put into institutions. They become what we call social orphans. And these children grow up with the same problems real orphans have: insecurities, drug addiction, prostitution, suicidal tendencies, and more. Because we recognize this creates an endless cycle of dependency, Orphan's Promise is working hard to keep families together through our KFT program. It may be as simple as providing a sewing machine and cloth so a mom can make clothes to sell and support her family. In this way, children can stay with their mother instead of going into an orphanage. These simple micro-enterprise startups are inexpensive and very successful. It's a KFT goal that within 18 months, each family can fully support their own children and household members. One of the families we've helped lives in Thailand. The mother is a widow named Prani. When her husband died, she had no income for her 4 children and their grandmother. She wanted to end her life, but realized that would leave her family in a worse dilemma. When we learned of Prani's situation, the family was barely surviving on the few dollars her daughter made working at a restaurant. Prani was so desperate she was considering sending her children to live in an orphanage. But with a small investment, Orphan's Promise was able to help her set up a business selling noodles and drinks right outside their home. In a few months, she was making enough to support the family, and her daughter was able to return to school. If you think about the implications of this, with a small investment, the cycle of poverty in this family has been turned around. KFT families are also helped in other ways, through encouragement, hygiene education, childcare, financial planning, and other family building blocks. In Thailand alone, our efforts are helping 81 vulnerable children stay with their families. Programs like this are the wave of the future, keeping children within their extended families instead of being sent to orphanages needing ongoing support. Well, today I've shown you some of the ways that Orphan's Promise is working in over 50 countries to help orphaned and vulnerable children. You know, the needs are many and ongoing, but together we can make real progress. If you could look into their eyes like I have, you'd see the pain and rejection. It would change you like it's changed me. And that's why I'm asking you to help us make a difference. Please call the number on your screen right now and become a part of the Orphan's Promise family. Thank you.